Coffer. What's going on, everybody? Top 10 Pokemon back, and I am bringing you today another top Pokemon card auctions of the week recap. And a large theme of this video is black labels, just black label madness. So many BGS 10 black label slabs came through this week in auction, both on eBay and PWCC. We're going to cover all of them, as well as a few other very interesting auctions. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your support. Folks, please consider being a subscriber if you're not already, and please give the video a like on your way out if you indeed like the video. And please consider using my eBay affiliate link in the description below if you do any shopping on eBay to support the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. So let's let the auction start doing the talking here, starting off with some Trick or Trade graded cards. Now these are the cards you got from the Halloween candy bags, I think, that they were selling in stores a few months back. There weren't too many cards in this particular set, but there are a few PSA 10 cards that did come by this week, starting off with this Mimikyu Holo in PSA 10 that sold for $47.50. And then we saw a PSA 10 Mewtwo from this set that sold for $58, along with this Gengar also in PSA 10. It sold for most at $71 this week. Let's check in on a couple of the most popular alternate art cards in the hobby, starting off with the full art Lugia V from Silver Tempest that in PSA 10 sold this week for about $505. We also saw, we see several Moonbryons. The most recent sale that I could find was for $860 for a Gem Mint 10. And then we saw the Charizard V alternate art from Brilliant Stars that sold as a PSA 10 for $425, but we saw a BGS 10 black label of this card sell for $4,250, so 10 times as much for the black label than that for the PSA 10 example. It's crazy. Here is another BGS 10 black label in the Rayquaza VMAX from Evolving Skies, sold this week for $3,800. And then we saw this Japanese black label Charizard from the V-Star Universe set, sold for $1,275. And then here we saw a black label Japanese Charizard VMAX from Shiny Star V that sold for $2,001. Here we saw the 25th anniversary Japanese Charizard with a black label attached to it that sold for $2,716. And up next we have our latest rendition of which sold for more. This week I got the Charizard GX, the SV49 from Hidden Fates. We have a CGC 10 copy that sold, a PSA 10 copy that sold, and then a BGS 10 copy that sold. Which version of this card, or I guess which slab of this card, sold for most this week? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Time's up. If you guessed the CGC 10 Pristine example, you would be correct, as it sold this week for $800 even, while the PSA 10 example sold for $725, and the BGS 10 copy sold for $710. And we're going to jump into the vintage portion of our video, starting out with base set in this first edition Yellow Cheeks Pikachu that sold as a PSA 10 for $1,450 this week. We saw the first edition Squirtle from base set sell for $750. And then we saw Wartortle come by, hitting some massive numbers as a PSA 10. It sold for 1,925 big ones. Here is a shadowless PSA 10 Hitmonchan Holo, sold for $2,025. We saw a first edition Holo Dragonite from Fossil set. This is easily the most expensive card from Fossil that sold for $4,170. Here's a first edition Blaine's Charizard, sold for an even $4,000 this week. And then here we have a holographic Dark Vaporeon from Legendary Collection. I am so glad they made this card a holo in Legendary Collection. It is beautiful. This card sold as a PSA 10 for $3,750. A couple of the more expensive WotC Black Star promos came by. Here is a Pokemon Center and PSA 10 that sold for $760, while the Lucky Stadium Black Star promo sold for $1,106. On to the EX era, here is a Scyther EX from Ruby and Sapphire, sold for $805. Here's an Ampharos EX from Dragon Set, sold for $760. Here we have a Suicune Black Star promo that sold for $597. Here is a Japanese first edition Gyarados from Holon Phantoms that sold for $1,425. Here is a Rayquaza EX from Dragon Frontier, sold for $830. Here is a Black Star promo Groudon EX that sold for $960 this week. And then we saw this Mew Prime from Heart Gold Soul Silver Triumphant set. This card sold for $530. Here is a card I haven't seen before, and if I did, it's been a long time. It is a Charizard from the Mario Pikachu February. I'm not sure what that means. It's a interesting sized card there. This thing in PSA 10 sold for $540. And then lastly, for our single cards on eBay, here is a Charizard Holo from Secret Wonders. Has the Holo bleed throughout the card in PSA 10, sold this week for $3,605.55. A couple of interesting sealed product sales. Here is a black and white Legendary Treasures booster box, sold for $2,550. Here is a case of Evolutions booster boxes, so 6 booster boxes total, sold for $4,550. Here from Heritage Auctions is a first edition Jungle booster box, sold for the grand total of $11,400. And then here we have a graded base set unlimited booster pack with the Charizard artwork in PSA 10 that sold for $970 this week. That's quite a bit for what is very likely to be a light booster pack, so that was definitely a shocker for me. And then on to this week's PWCC auction recap. Here is a signed reverse holographic Charizard from Legendary Collection, signed by Arita. The card was just authenticated, so no actual grade on the card, but this thing here sold for $2,075. We saw a Black Label Pikachu stamp box promo that sold for $1,440 this week. We saw a Chinese 25th anniversary Charizard that got the Black Label and sold for $810. Here, now this is interesting. SGC 10 first edition base set Magneton came by. Gem Mint, right? Gem Mint Pop 1 card in the SGC Pop Report sold for $990. And if you're thinking to yourself, wow, that was a steal, think again. Because check out the back of this card. I was actually going to bid on this card, but then I saw the back and I'm like, no. Take a look at the upper left-hand corner of this card. That is just brutal whitening. I mean, that's not like a speck or a little nick. That is like very, very noticeably scuffed or scratched. I don't know what happened to it, but that is an extremely noticeable defect in whatever way you want to see it as. So I think that's why it sold for less than $1,000. What do you think? Do you think that was still a good deal considering what the back looks like? Let me know. Up next, we saw a BGS 10 Black Label Mirage's Mew that sold as a Pop 1 card in the Beckett Pop Report. This sold for $1,920. We saw this BGS 10 Stadium card. This is a Reviving Legends Winter Prize card that sold for $3,720 this week. Here is a PSA 8 Gold Star Umbreon from the Pop Series 5, sold for $4,200. And then we saw this first edition base set Charizard autographed by Arita with a little design of Charizard on it. The autograph graded a 10. The card was just authenticated, and this card sold for a total of $7,800. Up next, we saw a PSA 10 Charizard Holo from Expedition set, sold this week for $12,000. In the PWCC monthly premiere auction, we saw a CGC 10 Pristine Japanese 25th Anniversary Creatures Deck Corporate History Charizard that sold for $33,600. We also saw this 2005 Japanese promo Victory Orb Holo featuring Mew on it as a PSA 10 that sold for $39,600. And then the auction of the week has to go to this Japanese Top Sun Blueback No Number Charizard that in PSA 10 sold for $52,800. Which is down significantly from the last sale price, which was back in May of 2001, where it sold for $192,000. Which, if my calculations are correct, that is a $140,000 loss on this card. So, what do you think of the auctions this week? Please leave a comment below. I love reading the comments on these auction recaps, seeing what people think of all these sales. So please do that. Thank you for joining me today and watching the whole way through. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you all in my next one.